So we're midway through 2025, and it is pretty clear the biggest innovations in photography and videography aren't in hardware anymore. This year it's all about software. From Meta's AI transformations, Apple's cinema features, and Adobe building an entirely experimental camera app, every major platform is racing to put as much creative power as possible in your hands as fast as possible. Some of it feels like science, and some of it feels like fiction. Let's see which one's which. Let's jump in. So first, let's take a look and see what Meta is doing in their AI video editing. Now, the speed and range of some of these new AI-powered tools are starting to kind of blur the line between editing and remixing video altogether. Meta just released their Restyle feature for short-form video creators across 3 platforms: their Edit video app for Instagram, the Meta AI app, and the Meta.ai website. Now, what makes this feature stand out is that it's not just the use of generative AI, it's how it lets you fundamentally transform elements of your video in a matter of seconds. So you upload any video, new, old, shot by you, not shot by you, and you're given more than 50 AI editing prompts that let you change a person's outfit, swap out a scene, make a beach a desert, make the whole thing into something that looks like a comic book, a video game, or anime. So imagine restyling your video memory to look like a snowy field, then instantly sharing it to Instagram, Facebook, or directly into Meta's Discover feed. And right now, anyone in the US and dozens of other countries can edit up to 10 seconds of video for free, at least for now. Now, Meta's announcement frames this as a tool for everyone, promising that editing with AI should be as simple as picking a filter. You don't need to know how to mask, color grade, composite, or understand copyright. It's genuinely just drag and drop. Now, under the hood, this isn't just a fun effect, it's powered by Meta's new Movie Gen technology, designed actually to edit non-AI video content. And Instagram's Adam Mosseri has confirmed that this technology will roll out even more broadly to the Instagram platform over time. If you've tried it, I would love to hear your thoughts, and I would love to hear how you feel about AI restyling and remixing, and whether or not you feel it's useful. Is it oversimplified? Is it the beginning of a dystopian nightmare? Let me know down in the comments. But while we're talking about video creation, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by me. And unless I say otherwise, every video on this channel is backed by my photography business. Now, YouTube ad revenue is nice, but it doesn't keep the lights on. I'm a working professional photographer, and this is how I make a living. I specialize in portraits, family sessions, and photo and video work for small businesses. Now, if you're in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Riverside, Orange County, or especially San Diego, and need professional content that actually makes you look good, I am available. You'll find booking links and info down in the description. Next, Apple is making a change that iPhone videographers have been asking for quite some time. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that even going back to the iPhone 14 Pro, when we talked about using cinematic mode, you had to choose between using cinematic mode and the Apple camera app, or the higher functionality and control over your camera system in something like the Blackmagic Cam app, which I love using, but you didn't get cinematic options. But here's the big shift. The cinematic mode, which is Apple's shallow depth of field and automatic rack focus system, was only available in the built-in camera app. And if you wanted to edit it, you had to bounce between multiple apps. Unless, of course, you're like me and you just edit everything in Final Cut, in which case it works fine. But if you're in any other app, that makes it rather complicated. But with iOS 26, Apple is introducing a new API allowing developers like Kino, Filmic Pro, Cam App, and other indie camera app makers to add direct cinematic mode recording into their apps. So you can record, you can rack focus, you can adjust your shallow depth of field, all within your own creative ecosystem. No more workarounds, no more exporting, no more jumping between software. So if you have an iPhone 13 or newer, every major camera app can now leverage this feature for smooth background blurring, automatic focal transitions, and a much tighter integration into a pro video workflow. So it's not just the blur of the cinematic mode, but the rack focus technology that detects the main subjects, blurs the background, and then seamlessly shift focus between people as they move through the scene or as you tap to select them, making your iPhone footage feel very much more Hollywood. It's worth noting that since iOS 17, third-party apps could handle editing and playback, but not recording. Now, for the first time, you can start and finish your cinematic project inside the app of your choice. If you are a filmmaker or content creator who is working primarily on mobile platforms using the iPhone as your primary cinematic driver, this is a non-trivial upgrade. This is big. Are you going to find yourself using the built-in camera app, or are you planning on switching to some of the other third-party apps like the Blackmagic Cam app? I would love to know down in the comments. Speaking of third-party apps that a lot of us creators use, I want to tell you a quick story that while my wife and I were in the hospital welcoming our baby girl, my personal Facebook and Instagram accounts were hacked and permanently shut down. My professional Instagram, which I had built over years, was gone, and as a photographer, having a visible presence, it's a big deal. So I've had to rebuild, and I can use your help. But I'm trying to make it worthwhile, and I'm running a giveaway. I get gear all the time from brands for reviews. And once I'm done, I don't always keep the gear. So instead, I'm going to give it to you. And here's how you can enter. Go and follow me on Instagram. Make sure that you're a subscriber to this channel and comment on this video saying that you have followed me on Instagram. Once I've hit 1,000 followers, which we're so close, I'm like 950, 960, I will start sending out free gear. And I think I'm even gonna do like a live video where I'll show you how I catalog that gear, and I'm gonna do a randomizer that will pull in all my comments and randomly select folks who have commented. So if you wanna help sweeten the pot, go ahead and share and like as much of the content that you find over there. It really makes a big difference as we sail past 1,000 followers. Next, let's talk about photography because Adobe just pushed a set of updates to Lightroom that are causing some strong opinions, especially around the expanding use of generative AI. Now, I see two things here. One, Adobe is promising faster, higher quality edits for everybody, regardless of your skill level. And on the other, photographers are openly asking Adobe to slow down on the constant barrage of AI-powered tools. But like it or not, the new update is here. Now, the biggest addition and update is to the generative remove tool available in both Lightroom, Lightroom Classic, and Lightroom Mobile. This feature is about instantly removing anything distracting from your photo. Unwanted window reflections, gone. Distracting items in the background, gone. And it does it with an AI detection in single click, and you can set how much of things like natural reflections and items you want. The people detection and removal is actually pretty slick. I'm gonna do a separate video where we go over that. So if you have someone in frame who's in focus and you designate them as your subject, Lightroom is gonna go and find the other people in the photo and remove them. And again, as someone who is a portrait photographer where I'm shooting a lot in public places, I do my best to avoid having people or unsightly distractions in the background. That's just part of being a professional. Honestly, I use my subjects a lot as the blocker for those, but it's not always possible. And sometimes you just have to go and do it in post. Lightroom Mobile is also getting smarter with their Quick Actions feature. Scene Enhance can now analyze a landscape photo and apply targeted edits to separate areas like sky, water, ground automatically. And so for anyone shooting outdoors and using Lightroom Mobile, that could be a big time saver. Now, looking forward, Adobe is finally looking to add AI-powered culling tools that photographers, especially event shooters for things like weddings, have wanted for years. Now, I've used a number of different pieces of software to do this. Some are better than others. They all have pros and cons, but the idea is that they kind of filter out your photos to identify things like, is the subject eyes open? Is it sharply focused? And then it automatically groups similar photos and finds the best version so that you don't have to go through every single one of them. And you'd be able to use these tools both on import and in organizing existing catalogs, potentially a game changer for anyone with thousands of images to sort. Now, when I do a portrait session and I've got a couple hundred shots that I need to go through, and I want to narrow that down to 30 or 50 or 60 photos, using these AI culling tools has been a huge help for me. But where they don't do as well as a photographer's eye is there are times when my subject is not looking at the camera. There are times when the subject is slightly out of focus intentionally because I'm trying to create maybe a dreamy, kind of creamy look, especially if I'm shooting with a shallow depth of field or a long focal length. And in those cases, after those photos are culled using an AI tool, I then go back and I find the photos that I know it probably kicked out or didn't identify as pics. and I bring them back into Catalog. Now, we don't know the exact public beta date yet, but if Adobe delivers what they're teasing, it's going to be a huge speed up in workflow for hobbyists and working pros. Or for working pros who are already using these tools in other third-party apps, it may be a reason to switch back into using Adobe Lightroom as our primary culling tool. But as with all things AI in photography, the debate isn't necessarily going to be going away, because then the question is, what happens to these photos? Who owns them? Are they going to be doing this AI work in the cloud? There are some apps that do it on the cloud. There are some apps that install micro models on your machine and actually do it locally, which is my preference. But then some of those apps have really onerous terms of service questions. So again, it's a mixed bag all the way around. As I hear more, I will let you know as soon as I can. Now, once I've completed that culling process and I've gone through and I'm looking at my photos and I've done some edits and cleanup and I've done some of that generative AI remove stuff, I'll normally add a very light preset to my photos. Not all of them, and I never apply my presets at 100%, but I do add presets to a lot of my photos. And so what I've done is I've taken all of my Lightroom presets that I've been using this spring. Now, I'm not gonna sell this. This is not a sales pitch. But if you are a member of the channel, which is $1, I'm gonna make this pack available, as well as my Cinelabs curated LUT pack and a number of the other resources that I use here on the channel. So if you're already a member, they'll be waiting for you. And if you want to join, there are links right down below, and they'll pop up as soon as they get released. Next one, and this one's interesting, right? We have an Adobe app that is, they call it an experimental computational camera app. They call it Project Indigo. And it's a sort of different approach compared to typical camera software. One of the things that can really separate photos taken with a traditional DSLR or mirrorless camera or an interchangeable lens camera, especially a full frame camera that comes out raw and then gets edited, it's just a single frame, versus what you see in your smartphone, which is now computationally driven. A lot of photographers, myself included, feel that what you get out of your smartphone, it just feels too manipulated. Now, I don't necessarily mind that when I'm taking pictures of my kids running around, or if I need a photo at the grocery store to send to my wife, that's fine. But if I'm gonna be doing something professional, I want the look and the flexibility of a dedicated camera system. And Project Indigo is Adobe's attempt to kind of convince me otherwise. And they're building a natively computational camera that has pro-level controls, but an emphasis on natural image quality. Now, the app is out right now. It's free on the App Store. And if you have an iPhone 12 Pro or newer, or an iPhone 14 and above, you can give it a try. And unlike most Adobe products, you don't need a subscription. And right now, you don't need an Adobe account. Now, what stands out here is that Project Indigo handles both low light and high zoom shots. And in night mode, when you take a photo, the app automatically captures and merges 32 frames. But instead of pushing the sensor, it underexposes each frame, gives you less noise, fewer blown out highlights, and tries to give you a more natural image. It works in both JPEG and RAW, so if you shoot in RAW and edit in Lightroom or in Camera Raw, you'll see real improvement in your workflow. For the telephoto and digital zoom, Indigo groups multiple exposures and takes advantage of that little bit of shake that you normally have by holding your phone in your hand to reconstruct a sharper, more detailed photo than the single digital crop could potentially produce. The other thing that the app has, and this isn't necessarily new, there's a handful of apps out there, my personal choice is Halide, that give you adjustments and controls to things like ISO, shutter, exposure compensation, focusing, white balance, and fine-tuning the number of frames per burst. There's also a dedicated long exposure button, but it uses merging instead of a physical long exposure. Now, the real goal here, according to Adobe, is to create a faithful SLR-like look from your phone without some of that over-processed tone map look that you get from traditional smartphone HDR photos. Now, the app look is tuned to be fully compatible with Adobe's adaptive color profile, so images can be seamlessly moved into existing Adobe workflows. And they see this tool as a serious project, as well as a playground for new technology that they might push into Lightroom and Photoshop in future updates. Don't forget, Lightroom does have a built-in camera. There are also additional updates planned, including an Android version in-app presets, better bracketing, and a new multi-frame shooting method, which we should see soon. If you're curious about computational photography, Project Indigo is worth a download, and Adobe is actively looking for your feedback. I'd also like to know, does having a pro-level computational control-based app on your phone make you want to shoot more with your phone and less with your mirrorless or DSLR? Is this a stopgap to a dedicated camera? I personally feel like I'm either going to use my full frame mirrorless or I'm going to use my phone, and I'm probably just going to use the built-in camera app. I don't find myself often using anything in between unless it's video. But let me know your experience down in the comments. Now, if you want to support what I'm doing here, consider becoming a channel member. You'll have access to exclusive resources I talked about before, as well as LUTs and presets, highlighted comments, members only live videos, and early access to new uploads. If you're looking to book a photo or video session, all the details are down in the description. I work in Vegas, LA, Riverside, Orange County, and San Diego. You'll also find gear links down there, including my 2025 Creators Essentials list for anyone who's getting started. Now, those are affiliate links, so if you pick something up, it does help the channel. And don't forget, I am rebuilding my Instagram after losing my original account. There's a giveaway going on, so I'd really appreciate your help. Just follow me on Instagram, be subscribed here, drop a comment saying that you followed me on Instagram, and you will be entered to win free gear. But as always, the easiest way to support the channel, just hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Those are both free, and it really, really helps. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.